Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. M.P. Stija, Professor retired from the Department of Library and Information Science, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. Topic for discussion here is the use or role of classification in organizing and searching the World Wide Web, WWW. Classification is central to libraries. Once it was described as foundation study of librarianship in mid 20th century and was considered a pride and exclusive technique of library scientists. It was even projected as the basis of all kinds of information retrieval. But with the coming of computer-aided information retrieval in late 70s, computer enthusiasts began to believe that classification has outlived its utility. It's no more required. Computer has the power to retrieve better with keywords, they believed. Soon it was experienced that keywords or other uncontrolled languages failed more often and produced more noise than relevant information. But at the same time, it was necessary to use computers for information storage and retrieval due to their power. Research focused on the use of controlled vocabulary and that led to the use of subject indexing languages which are structured and controlled in the form of subject heading lists, thesaurus facets, etc. With the coming of internet and the World Wide Web, libraries were challenged as the web is a sea of information. But this sea of information is rough and chaotic. Simple search engines retrieved more dross than gold. Search engine and subject directories like Yahoo realized the use of classification methods for better relevance and retrieved information on the web. Of course, the classification used by them are nominal and primitive, but at the same time, old tools of knowledge organization were used and the search for new tools also began. Use of classification in web-based searches and information access is still an active area of research. Classification, a universal constant. Classification, in every sense, is a mental activity which is at the base of whatever we do and act. Classification is a universal constant. Every moment we are making conscious or unconscious use of classification in all walks of life. Classification is a universal and mundane activity of every system, be it bio system, social system, or mechanical system. As an innate or inborn ability of our brain, it helps to organize and make sense of the world around us. All knowledge is classification, said the American philosopher John Dewey. Indeed, knowledge progresses by classifying. It brings order and certainty. Classification simplifies things for comprehension. Modern library classification, since its origin in the late 19th century, has come a long way from shelf arrangement systems to become a tool for information analysis and retrieval. During its checkered career, it was glorified as the foundation study of librarianship in the 1950s and 60s. Next 2 decades were hard for it when it had to struggle for survival in the emerging environment with the coming of computers. Nature of classification. Classification is always utilitarian, that is practical, pragmatic. It is done for some purpose. All its varied applications can be boiled down to 3 purposes. That is, 1. Economic, it saves time and money. aesthetics, it brings order and beauty, and knowledge creation, that is taxonomy. Whatever be the task, classification cannot be ignored, nor it has any substitute. About 3 decades ago, some experts, mesmerized by the power of computers, began to think that classification has reached a dead end. They began to doubt its relevance in the computer-assisted information retrieval, that is chaos. Those were the days of keyword searching, thesauri, and other verbal approaches to subject access. With experience, it was soon realized that most of the times keywords have failed or deceived us, whereas controlled vocabularies such as subject headings and thesauri make use of classification principles in structuring. But Ranganathan had unswerving faith in the continued need and value of systematic classification in all sorts of information work. The work of Ranganathan. S. R. Ranganathan, the father of Indian librarianship, with his path-breaking work, raised classification to model of conceptual thinking. He added dimensions and depth to its theory and applications. Professionally, his approach was to classify ideas and knowledge rather than objects called books. So he made classification as a tool for thinking. He aimed at organizing the thought contents, not the physical items of the books. The utility of his approach has become more striking in the age of databases, networked information, and the World Wide Web and other information architecture. His canon of characteristics in the idea plan are excellent and universal tools for analysis of subjects. His principle of helpful sequence in an array, general PMST formula, and principle of facet sequence, that is citation order, are applicable for ordering ideas, objects, and processes alike. Coming of electronic documents or the e-information. Till early 1970s, though the audiovisuals, motion pictures, microfilms, microforms, non-book material, and realia, etc. had arrived in our libraries. But computerized databases, multimedia, and network information resources were a distant dream. Now we are overwhelmed and inundated by such documents in our libraries. There is a flood of them. Not only this, keyword approach to computerized databases seemed so easy and simple that some thought systematic classification was no longer needed. But this simplicity was deceptive. Now it is well learned that description and organization of electronic and internet resources is needed without doubt. A resource is not a resource if it is not organized, controlled, and used, be it print or electronic. Later realization that there is no alternative to it has made classification bounce back with an vengeance. And some people feel that we are heading towards the second revolution or the second golden age of classification. Electronic documents. Realities and challenges of organizing multimedia and networked information since late 1980s have given new teeth to this ancient tool of organizing knowledge, that is classification. All information organization and access underlie classification of a sort. It has grown into multidisciplinary study spanning the twin fields of library and information sciences. It has developed into a full discipline, a multidisciplinary one. Accordingly, there has been a spurt of publications explicating the subject in its new avatar. There is a lot of research going on in the use of classification in the electronic media and the way the classification can be made more relevant and useful in organizing the net. Formation of the International Society for Knowledge Organization, ISCO, in 1989 by Dr. Dahlberg in Germany paved the way of its second coming. Nature of digital documents. Range of digital information objects, DIOs or digital documents simply, is vast and ever increasing. Digital world is still unfolding with the new possibilities. Expectations rise with each passing day. It has made permanent inroads in every walk of our life. The features of digital documents and information and media are highly compact storage and huge storage capacity is possible. Ease of reproduction and manipulation is there in case of e-information. E-information contents can be very easily detached from its media, that is container. Ease of transmission, communication and storage is striking and tremendous. Changing scenario in the information world. Today, knowledge organization has become a highly dynamic field. The ongoing information revolution has made cracks in information gathering and dissemination paradigm of the print era. Recent spurt in the use of computers and telecom networks for information communication and retrieval has changed the way information is acquired, indexed, retrieved, and used. Traditional methods of information processing and services are blurring. Library practice and use patterns are changing rapidly. From library and information management, we have come to knowledge management. From text-based information retrieval, we have made our information retrieval systems more nimble, precise, to organize digital images and hypermedia. Coming with the change, modern libraries are increasingly being redefined as places to get unrestricted access to information in many formats and from many sources. A modern library is not a silo, an isolated place, but a gateway to the global world of information. New tools are being forged and new standards for information description, access, and exchange are getting formulated in ignorance of such tools already existing in libraries. It shows lack of marketing skill on the part of librarians to demonstrate the skill and validity of their traditional and time-tested tools for knowledge organization. We need to develop and use tools for knowledge organization and at the same time hone the traditional or sharpen the traditional ones to cope with the new situation, says Professor Louis Mai Chan. Classifying databases, that's the electronic files. Library classification is a dual act of first relating and then locating. Over the years, by hit and trial, we have learned of the many applications of classification in organizing and searching electronic databases and networks. Now it is obvious that classification improves precision and recall power of information systems. Pasted classification may be used to retrieve large sets of related or linked records by subject, language, form, area, period, viewpoint, or format, which was not possible in print days. Hierarchy provides context to the searches, allows the searches move up or down the chain to broaden or narrow the search, to move from stem to branches, to say so. In other words, it throws open a path for negotiation, query refinement, and network navigation, but it's only one pattern. Electronic information, being fluid, is amenable to varied organizational patterns and access points. 8 uses of classification in online systems. In areas of knowledge admitting of natural taxonomies, classification can be used to improve recall and precision and to save the time of the user in keying in search terms. In other areas of knowledge, perspective hierarchies can be used to contextualize the meaning of vague search terms, enabling the computer to simulate in part the negotiation of search requests carried out by reference librarians. An important use of traditional classification in online system is to provide a structure for meaningful browsing. Classification can be used to provide a framework for the representation and retrieval of non-bibliographic information, for example, statistical data. Automatic classification can be used to collocate citations in ways not possible in manual systems. For example, similarity of linguistic features can be used for searching a database. Finally, classification can be used to achieve compatibility of retrieval languages by serving as a mediating or switching language. Old tools in new clothes. Availability of traditional systems such as the DDC, UDC, Library of Congress classification, electronic versions have not only equipped them with more features but have made them more sharp and flexible. They have many additional value-added features. We can construct virtual multidimensional classifications with hypertext and polyhierarchies. Call number searches can be combined with verbal headings to produce wonderful result through Boolean operators, combination and permutation of terms, and truncation facilities and fuzzy logic. Already, the WebDB and classification web of the Library of Congress have a feature of class numbers mapped to subject headings. Continuing with the use of old tools in the new environment, the use of classification has been best demonstrated by the symbiosis between classification and cataloging that Ranganathan always advocated through his chain procedure, also called chain indexing. Records in databases could be classified by two different classification systems to view the alternative structure of knowledge to suit the need of different users. Above all, a record could be assigned more than one class number by the same system, as we do with keywords or subject headings in manual catalogs. Boolean searching can allow the simultaneous use of subject headings and class numbers. Web searching. The World Wide Web, or simply called web, is a powerful means of making vast quantities of information available in any form, but it has not been structured in any way to aid retrieval. None of the carefully developed standards for information retrieval have been applied to most of the information available on the web. In addition, it should be recalled that theories of information retrieval and hence information retrieval systems have been developed, implemented, and tested using document surrogates and not full text documents. There has been limited testing of the efficacy of these systems for full text retrieval. It is believed that retrieval is poor with less than 20% of relevant documents retrieved. The topic for discussion is the role of classification in the broader sense in searching the World Wide Web, WWW. Subject access to the World Wide Web. Mostly one has to rely on automated tools such as search engines for subject access, especially through keyword access to full text documents. Word searching has its own inherent problems, of course. Google search engine is hamstrung by poor scholarly search methods. Search engines are not able to recognize the conceptually equal words or synonyms or foreign languages. They do not allow you to recognize related sources whose term you cannot think of beforehand. It means they don't understand the synonyms. This categorization is crucial to scholarship and information retrieval, which is missing on the internet. Use of conventional classification schemes in the e-environment is possible. It is possible to employ conventional schemes such as the DDC or the Library of Congress classification for searching the web. In the early days of the web, classification schemes such as the UDC were used as organizers for many subject gateways. But by 2004, Wanda Broughton was claiming that they had largely been superseded in this role. Various reasons, among others, for this are lack of funding, difficulty of keeping up with the growth of the web, change to another form of indexing, collaboration and merging of subject gateways and portals, and so on. However, there are still a number of services that use traditional schemes. For example, the Dewey Decimal classification is used by the Library and Bubble, BUBL. The Library of Congress classification is used by Cyberstacks and the Scout Report Archives uses Library of Congress subject headings for organizing and retrieving information in the gateways. Let us see the use of the DDC in Library. Library is a service provided by the Morton Grove Public Library of USA. It provides links to what are claimed to be the most useful references and informational websites organized by the Dewey Decimal class numbers. Selecting one of these 10 main classes of Dewey provides a breakdown for that class. For example, in the class 000, the 00 is computer, 010 is bibliography, and 020 library science. Upon selecting, let us say, 020 library science, two of the first relevant sites named are those of the American Library Association and the Library of Congress Information Systems. So this is a classified order which provides references when used by a classification system. The Bubble Information Service, originally it was named Bulletin Board for Libraries, for the library and higher education community, also uses the DDC system as a primary organization structure for the catalog of internet resources. The search method is similar to used by the library, already explained to you. The home page shows some main 10 classes of DB from which the required class can be selected. This will give a breakdown of the division of the first class from which the further selection can be made. For example, on selecting 200 religion and then 220 Bible and then 220.3, we can get encyclopedia and dictionaries of the Bible. Use of the Library of Congress classification. Cyberstacks SM is a collection of significant web and other internet resources categorized by the Library of Congress classification. As with library, resources are categorized firstly within a broad classification. For example, the main classes Q, Science, R, Medicine, H, Agriculture, T, Technology. Then within the narrower subclasses, and finally under the specific classification range and associated subject description, we can make the searches. For example, T technology might be selected from the main menu, then TL, a motor vehicles, aeronautics, and astronautics form the subclasses, and finally TL 787 to 4050 aeronautics from the specific classification range. We can arrive specifically. A relevant resource listed here is NASA astronaut biographies. For each resource, a brief summary is also provided. When necessary, instruction on using the resources are also given. Use of Library of Congress subject headings. The Scout Report Archives is a searchable and browsable database of nearly 9 years of the Scout reports. Searches may be made under keyword, or a more advanced search may be made in other fields such as title, author, publisher, or Library of Congress subject headings. If, for instance, D is selected from the browse by the Library of Congress subject headings, alphabetical array, a list of headings beginning with that letter is displayed. Among these will be found Dinosaur 67 if it is looked under D. This indicates that there are 67 resources with subject heading that start with the term dinosaurs. Selecting this entry will reveal a list of resources, 19, entered directly under dinosaurs, and further classifications or subheadings such as bibliographies, databases, and study and teaching relating to other resources. We can support them, we can pinpoint them specifically for retrieval. For searching the web, there are also some special schemes. By certain subject services, the use of special rather than general classification scheme or list of subject heading is considered more useful. Among the options offered by Intuit, Social Sciences, for instance, is an online thesaurus. This is a service which aims to provide details of the selected best web resources for education and research in social sciences. The thesaurus engine also refers to alternative search terms to the one selected, organized into a hierarchy of relations. Google is a sea of information and a first port of call for any sort of information to be accessed. And the term Googling has become synonymous with information search from the web. Google directory uses a few broad categories, just like broader classification, further divided into subcategories, making a primitive classification. You see on this chart that all the information available on the Google has been divided into 16 broader categories. Clicking on one category, you see its subcategories. Then clicking on that, you can see the various websites which information is contained therein. Similarly, we can have some sort of a structured approach to retrieved information than merely the keyword approach. Google directory divides all its content into a few categories which are listed alphabetically. For example, start with arts, business, goes to home, news, references, then to regionals, that is international, science, sports, and lastly the world. Within each category, then there are subcategories. For example, under regional there are Asian, Europe, North America, and so on. Under shopping, there are autos, clothes, and gifts, and so on. Similarly, on clicking on the subheadings, we can get some more material, specific material, and further this hierarchical division can go on to proceed systematically to arrive at the right material and specific useful material. Searching the Google. In fact, there are two ways of searching the Google. One is to work down through the hierarchies, as explained earlier. For instance, for information on potted plants, one might choose home from the top display of categories, then gardens from the display of subcategories, then to the plants listed under garden. In the way, homes, gardens, plants, potted plants. And other ways to search alphabetically, first for particular topic, then narrow or refine the search by selecting a particular topic of interest. It is just like operating a relative index of the Dewey Decimal Classification. For example, if search is conducted for Venus, the result will be wide range of sites covering such entities as Venus as a planet, Venus as a goddess, Venus temple, the Venus dating agency, Venus Internet Limited, Radio Venus, and so on. Let us see the hierarchy of categories given against particular sites. Sciences, astronomy, planets, and Venus. It is comparatively easy to select the category into which specific requirement falls. Problems and prospects. Arguably, obviously, these categories are half-baked and semi-professional attempts. They are not as precise and sophisticated as we used in our library classifications. Although the hierarchical structure do not support subject browsing, yet the nature of the classification in these search engines doesn't appear to be as systematic as can be found in the more traditional library systems. Frequently, cross-classification is apparent. Another disadvantage is that they do not have a notation. Though a notation is not absolutely necessary for a system of classification to work, it can provide added value and save us from the problem of uncontrolled vocabulary. There are some questions to be solved. Ranganathan called half-baked classifications as classification which do not classify. The need is to develop and integrate traditional classifications and CSRI, which are more sophisticated, and the internet tools to manage hypertext linkages between electronic documents. We need to integrate classification with language processing tools, Boolean operators, concept indexing to augment tools for efficient retrieval of material for multimedia and virtual global library. Prospects of using the systems are bright. Of course, hypermedia cannot be adequately classified by a traditional classification with static hierarchies. Internet flexibility or manipulation of documents should allow for creation of more linkages between subject hierarchies. Internet resources do not require a physical location in the stacks and are thus freed from the need for a linear arrangement. Even cross-classification, a defect in traditional systems, can prove a virtue here. Classification theory can provide many new avenues for classifying documents in the e-environment. But one wholly agrees with Robert Newton, who said that Ranganathan's distinctive and radical thinking and the significance of the paradigm shift in classification theory, which he inaugurated, has not yet been fully mined. Ranganathan's facet and phase analysis, facet sequence, helpful sequence principles, and other canons in the idea plan are immediately helpful in query formulation for better precision of output. Though the library professionals have been quite successful in applying library classification to networked resources, yet much remains to be done to make them more amenable to a highly dynamic and flexible digital environment. Classifications and other controlled vocabularies were never so badly needed as in the information society of the digital world. In summary and conclusion, we will see the prospects of the use of classification methods in searching the web, in organizing the web, and also see what are the questions or areas of research to do this. People are asking, current question is, how far these traditional systems and skills are effectively transferable in the new information environment. Professor Lois Mai Chan pointedly identifies two questions still groping for answer. How to adapt the web retrieval tools for use in library OPEX, and conversely, how to adapt the traditional tools for subject retrieval, such as the classifications and subject headings in library catalogs for data mining and resource discovery. So far, the use of classification in databases and internet sites is shallow and too simple to make way for useful browsing. These may be seen as, to quote St. Paul, having form of classification but denying its power. Hypermedia cannot be adequately classified by a traditional classification with static hierarchies. Internet flexibility or manipulation of documents should allow for creation of more linkages between subject hierarchies. Internet resources do not require a physical location in these stacks and are thus freed from the need for a linear arrangement. Even cross-classification, a defect in traditional systems, can prove a virtue here. Classification theory can provide many new avenues, but one agrees with Robert Newton that Ranganathan's distinctive and radical thinking and the significance of the paradigm shift in classification theory, which he inaugurated, has not yet been fully mined. Ranganathan's face analysis, facet sequence, helpful sequence, principles, and other canons in the idea plan are immensely helpful in query formulation for better precision of output of a search query. Though the library professionals have been quite successful in applying library classifications to network sources, yet much remains to be done to make them more amenable to this highly dynamic and flexible digital environment. Classifications and other controlled vocabularies were never so badly needed as in the information society and digital age.